Hello and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's video, we're going to talk about a topic that might be a little controversial: Immutable Linux. Some people think that it's the future of Linux, while others feel like it's too rigid. But in this video, I'm going to explain this topic in detail so that way we'll better understand it. So what is it? Well, a short summary is that at its core, an immutable distribution ships the entire operating system as a single versioned image instead of a collection of individual packages. The base system is read-only, tightly controlled, and it's updated all at once. For people that have been using Linux for a while, that raises some red flags. After all, the ability to customize and tune our distros is quite possibly one of the most important benefits of our platform. So why would locking down distributions be a benefit to us? Well, that's one of the myths that I'll be debunking in today's video. The thing is, using an immutable distro does not take away your ability to customize it. It just means that customizing it is done a bit differently, and more importantly, unintended changes are less likely to happen with an immutable distro. So in this video, I'll talk more about what an immutable distro actually is, I'll clear up some misconceptions about this particular development, and I'll give you my overall opinions as well. And by the end of the video, you'll understand exactly why immutable distros might actually be a good way forward. So join me as we talk about immutable distros. And first, let's define more clearly what an immutable distro actually is. The basic idea is that an immutable distro boots into the same base operating system image every time. That base layer is read-only, and it's versioned. Now that's an oversimplification, but at this point in the video, we'll start with that basic description. Also, it's important to keep in mind throughout the video that implementation of immutability varies from one distro to another. For example, depending on which of these distros you decide to go along with, the types of changes you can make and how you go about committing those changes will be different depending on your distro of choice. And with that basic information out of the way, let's address some of the most common criticisms of immutable distros. For example, people claiming that it removes choice and prevents you from customizing your system. And I completely understand this confusion. After all, the terms immutable and read-only are literally defined as being unchangeable. But like I mentioned during the intro, you can still customize your installation. It's how those changes happen under the hood that makes the difference. For example, consider things like user data, system configuration, and log files. Those are some of the things that definitely need to persist. You wouldn't want to lose all of your documents when you reboot your computer or lose Nginx settings on a server. And logs are very important too. In fact, if you're not able to retain log files on business servers, that can actually be illegal in some areas. So, no matter what, we're always going to have objects that we want to persist between sessions. In addition, immutability isn't actually new. For example, consider live CDs. When that idea came around, you could download an image of a distro and write it to a CD, which then boots into a complete operating environment. But given that it's running from a CD, all the changes you might make are lost once you reboot. Nowadays, immutable distros borrow that same mindset, but they've refined it. Instead of the entire distribution being locked down, the focus is on protecting it from being tampered with. For instance, let's say you maintain a Linux server that's using an immutable distro, and a threat actor attempts to compromise it and implement malicious configuration changes. Depending on the distro, they might not even be able to make any changes at all. But even if they were able to, you could simply reboot your server and everything would be back to normal. As the administrator, you can make changes yourself and commit those changes, but a third party wouldn't be able to do so as easily. And when it comes to how individual distributions implement this idea, there's a few different styles or directions. For example, consider OSTree. This technology is used by Fedora Atomic and is kind of like a Git repository for your operating system. Basically, the entire OS file system is stored as a version tree of files, and updates create new commits. Another technology that's often used is RPM OSTree, which builds on OSTree itself and integrates it with the RPM ecosystem. In this configuration, the base OS image is immutable and RPM packages are installed as layers on top of it. In addition, we also have Transactional Update, which is used by OpenSUSE MicroOS. It's an approach based on snapshots and is typically powered by Btrfs. With this model, updates are applied to a new file system snapshot, and if something breaks, you can roll back to a previous configuration easily. Also, there's Ubuntu Core as well, which is an image-based model with separate partitions for system components. It employs an A/B update mechanism, where a new OS image is written to an inactive partition, and the system switches to it during the next boot. This way, if something breaks, you can simply boot your previous OS image. There's additional technologies at play as well, but since this is a summary video to introduce this topic to my audience, I can explore any of these topics in greater detail if you guys want me to. Next, let's talk about the part that makes some people nervous. If the system is immutable, how do you actually customize it? And also, can you customize it? Well, yeah, of course you can, because if a distribution stopped you from tweaking things, no one would actually use it. And the good news is that immutable distros absolutely allow customization. The difference isn't whether you can change things, it's where those changes live. The thing is, modern immutable systems separate the operating system into layers. The base OS is read-only and versioned, but your home directory, configuration, logs, and applications all persist normally. The core stays stable, while everything you interact with day to day remains flexible. And how this is actually implemented changes from one distro to another, with the biggest difference being how you go about installing applications. Some use package layering, while others rely heavily on containerized apps like Flatpak. With Flatpak, applications are installed outside of the OS layer and are managed separately. And that means you can install your browser, development tools, or anything else you might need, and those apps will remain installed even if the base OS is updated or rolled back. We'll get back to the video in just a moment, but I wanted to let you know about a few different ways in which you can help Learn Linux TV in its ongoing mission to make Linux more approachable for everyone. And first, the absolute best way to learn Linux is with hands-on experience. With my link for Linode, you'll get $100 in starter credits, so that way you can spin up practice servers that you could utilize as you go through the tutorials on this channel. If you'd like to level up your Linux knowledge even faster, I've also created several helpful resources that can guide you along the way. There's my tips for switching to Linux ebook, the Linux commands cheat sheet for quick reference at the terminal, as well as a brand new troubleshooting guide that walks you through clever ways to work around some of the quirks that you might run into along the way. Also, if you're planning on getting certified, you can get 30% off Linux Foundation certifications using the code in the description. In addition, if you're responsible for your company's infrastructure, or if you're running a home lab, I've also linked some tools below that I personally recommend. For example, NetData makes monitoring your infrastructure ridiculously easy, and TinyPilot gives you remote access to machines even when they're being, well, less than cooperative, because sometimes you need to fix a server from across the house or across the planet. And not only that, if you need direct help with Linux, I also offer one-on-one consulting for businesses as well as tutoring for students. That way, we can work through your setup together or tackle the exact topics that you want to master. And, of course, if you'd like to support the channel and get some awesome Linux-themed swag at the same time, then check out the Learn Linux TV merch shop. My personal favorite is the App-to-Stall Coffee shirt, which accurately documents the dependency chain required for most system administrators to function. So, if you want to support Linux learning, then a great way to do that is to check out the links in the description below. You'll end up with something nice, and you'll also be supporting the channel, so it's a win-win. Anyway, with all that said, let's get back to the video. So, immutable doesn't mean that you can't change things, it just means that the entire system is structured. You still control your system, it's just that the architecture protects the foundation while allowing flexibility everywhere else. So at this point, you could probably see why immutable distros are gaining attention, but should you switch to one of these distros? Well, eventually, probably yes, but right now, well, it depends. In reality, immutable distros are still maturing. The idea itself isn't brand new, but widespread adoption takes time. We've seen this before with major shifts when it comes to Linux, and Wayland is a good example, as it's been around for years and is only just now started becoming the default across many distros. These transitions just don't happen overnight. Nowadays, immutable options absolutely exist. Fedora offers Fedora Atomic, OpenSUSE has MicroOS as well as Aeon, and Ubuntu has Ubuntu Core. In addition, SteamOS, which powers the Steam Deck, is built around an immutable model and has proven that this approach can absolutely work at scale. But in many cases, immutable editions are still parallel offerings rather than the flagship default of any distro. For desktops and general-purpose servers, we're in a transitional phase. The tooling is improving, workflows are adapting, and developers are refining the experience. So, if you love experimenting, Immutable Linux is worth trying right now. But if you rely on very specific workflows or deeply customized setups, you may want to watch how things evolve before committing fully. And if you're not interested at all, well, that's fine too. Linux has never moved in a single direction. Even with something as widely adopted as systemd, there's still distributions that choose a different path. The only true constant across Linux distributions is the kernel itself, Everything else is just a matter of philosophy and design. Even if immutability becomes more common, traditional mutable distros aren't going to disappear. Linux has always been about choice, and that's not something that's going to change anytime soon. So whether you embrace Immutable Linux now, later, or never, the decision will always be yours. And in summary, let's bring this all together. An immutable distribution isn't a system you can't change, it's a system where the base operating system is read-only and versioned. And that design improves stability, it strengthens resistance to system-level tampering, and it makes rollbacks simple and reliable. In this model, your data still persists, your configuration still persists as well, and applications still install and run normally. The difference is, well, architectural. And distributions implement this model in different ways. Some rely heavily on containerized or sandboxed applications like Flatpak or Snap. Others use package layering or transactional updates, and the details vary, but the core idea remains the same. Basically, protect the base, separate user changes, and update the system atomically. As for the future, we're clearly in a transitional period. Immutable Linux is growing, it's gaining real-world adoption, and it's aligning closely with modern infrastructure practices. At the same time, traditional mutable distributions aren't going to go anywhere, as Linux has always supported multiple philosophies, and that diversity is part of its strength. Whether immutable systems become dominant or simply remain one strong option among many, they represent an important evolution in how we think about operating systems. And personally, well, I think it's an exciting one. All in all, when it comes to Immutable Linux, it's a technology that's growing, it's maturing, and it's going to take some time for it to fully modernize. And on this channel, I'll be following its development closely. It's something that I'm very interested in, and I'm curious to see what develops. But what's your opinion when it comes to immutability? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.